official prison talk. Definitely want to like, comment, subscribe. Big shout out to Joseph P. Langton, my brother from Brooklyn. He did 22 years and he's got out a few years ago. And then big shout out to our big homie, Jay Burton. He's been down for 36 years and he will be home soon. And today we have a very, very special guest, Gabriel
Uh-oh.
Cannon.
Uh-oh, we
Woo!
outside, but well, we inside, but what you
Now we
gonna do?
outside. Fuck that. Yo, it's so nice to meet you. I was supposed to meet you in LA, but then I ended up not going. And then Joseph, my brother, ended up meeting you and he loves you. Like you're like one of his favorite people in the world.
Man, we tapped in, we family. There's so much that we about to build out here. Even everything y'all doing with prison talk, man, it's so much. There's so many people who want to get involved, who see y'all movement out here on the West Coast. So let's go, let's build.
Okay, so let's start from the beginning. What is growing up like? You grew up in LA?
Nah, I grew up in North Carolina. We was born in San Diego. You know, my family's from San Diego, but we grew up in North Carolina. So we country boys, go outside and climb a tree type. You know what I mean? Get out the house. That's what we got in all them fights and was able to, build. I'm the middle child. Nick is the oldest. And so, I'm that guy in the middle. And
Who's the
kind of
youngest?
had
Is it a brother or a sister?
all boys, five
Okay.
boys for sure. Yeah.
Love
Five
it.
boys.
My
The
dad had
cannon's
all
coming.
girls. He was hoping I was gonna be a boy because I'm the youngest, and it didn't work out for him too well.
Right. That's my mom was trying for that girl, but it didn't happen. So, Pops
Tell
just
her
kept
she's not
pushing.
missing out. I was a lot of headaches growing up. So,
No, I feel you. I feel you.
who do you
But
think
yeah,
was the
that's
bad kid out of all three? Were you or Nick or?
I mean, my dad started a gang in San Diego, man. I don't even want to mention which one, but it's still out there. But he was a original founder of a gang in San Diego, like was really, turning it up out there in Dago, and then gave his life to Jesus. And so, we had like the best of both worlds. This military pops who really he didn't really let us watch TV, because at night, those guys at night who be had their little prayer channels at night. He was one of those guys, and so he didn't really let us watch TV, but we was able to go into the studios, and that's kind of how Nick got his start. My dad gave him that big old camera, and he was like, y'all can't watch TV, but you can make your own. And so we began, then became, little actors, and from Nick directing, at like 12 years old.
What made him not let you guys watch TV? Did he not want you to see the news or the lies or?
Well, I mean, he was running from some things.
Oh, like don't catch me on the news like yo wanted.
No, but it was just more of like, just the influence. Like he was so far left coming from his world. I think I like God saved his life one time, and he was just like, God, if you give me some sons, I'll give them over to you if you let me live. Like one of those kind of crazy, life changing stories to where he could have either went left or right, the grave or to glory, baby. And he kind of just made that turn. God really gave him five boys, and one of them became Nick
Five?
Cannon. Yeah, and we got a whole bunch, and just me and my brothers that we're doing this year, and these years to come that we just been preparing for. So, yeah, he honored that promise. He gave him his sons, and my dad gave us his camera, and so the rest is kind of history.
So was he like that before he met your mom, or was he always?
My mom was a country girl. She from the South. So he was this Cali dude. He probably had a Jerry curl back in the day. You know what I mean? A former gangbanger, talking about Jesus now. So he had some swag to him, So yeah, she was probably just overwhelmed by that Cali swag. He came to the South and, married my mama. And then we moved back to California. So, grew up, was raised in North Carolina, but was born in San Diego.
Okay. How was North Carolina? Was it like dangerous at all? Was it more like,
It
people
was
like leave pies on the windowsill and like white picket fences? Like, what was that like?
It was crazy. My childhood was dope, like I said, because my pops was he was so far out there. He kind of sheltered us, So we was big in sports. We was the Cannon brothers. From sports, basketball, baseball. One of my other brothers played football, but it was dangerous. It's the South. The gun rights are different out there. So but it wasn't really gangs. It was really like neighborhoods. I remember like being in Tuckasegee and on the west side of Charlotte, and just coming up and understanding the whole, really in the sixth grade. Like, we talking about prison talk. I remember in the sixth grade, one of my classmates, had a body, and it was like,
In the
I'm
sixth
kind of
grade.
sixth grade, man, and it's like, and that's kind of
Was it
when I
another
was.
sixth grader or was it someone outside of school?
Well, I mean, he was in the sixth grade with us, but he probably was supposed to be in the a higher
Yeah,
grade.
damn.
Probably,
Oh, one of those little kids that keep getting left back and he's just no good and just a
I
bad
don't want to
apple.
say he's still outside now.
Wait, so you
But
never
yeah,
got a chance to really see that gangster side of your dad? Was he always just like dad and like,
he was always pops. It's crazy when we came to North Carolina. I mean, came from North Carolina with Nick kind of maybe like in his drumline years. We was able to move from North Carolina, started getting the money a little bit, and my dad took us through San Diego and they was tell us all these stories. They would call them Tarzan, what I mean, Tarzan, like, and he had this. My grandfather would call him that, but we didn't know it was his hood name. Like, you know what I'm saying?
yeah,
So they telling, he'll take us through the neighborhood and they telling us all this story about this dude named Tarzan. But we was fascinated, you know what I mean? Because coming to the West Coast from us was different. Even being from North Carolina, the whole East Coast, West Coast beef that went on. We thinking you from the East Coast, you come to the West Coast, they gonna kill your ass. Like, we don't have a proper understanding, So, coming there, just being really walk through these neighborhoods, walk through this history that, my pop kind of laid down and left behind. Even Nick, a lot of people, I don't want to be telling all his business. Nick got some gang ties. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like,
Nick's a gangster.
yeah, he got some gang ties, man. And because they were able to, grow up on the West Coast and Nick was able to live a different life before, his mom shipped him to North Carolina, like, you gonna get into some mess like your father. So, they sent him back to live with my dad. And that's kind of where, my dad gave him his camera and the Hollywood dreams kind of was able to set in.
So he always knew that, just push them to do movies, like no, not be in the streets like that.
Yeah, I think that was kind of his different form of shooting. Don't shoot guns, shoot these movies. I remember when Nick first came, like when he was shipped to North Carolina to live with my dad, with us, and everything. He had a suitcase full of toy guns, right? Like he thinking I got little brothers out there. I'm gonna show them all these toy guns. And my dad lined us up in front of the woods. In North Carolina, there's woods everywhere. And he took Nick's suitcase. I mean, he has a suitcase full of guns, cap guns, cowboy guns, like all kinds of GI Joe guns. And I mean, he took each one of those guns and just threw them in the woods. Like, you know what I mean? We don't do guns, And he got some stories of why, he kind of felt that way. But like, to his boys, man, like we don't do this. He ended up putting us in the martial arts, the boxing, and if we're gonna fight, we're gonna fight with our words, we're gonna fight with our hands, but we
Yeah,
ain't trying to because most times the people we killing black folk, man. So it's like I ain't gonna
yeah,
train y'all up to kill each other. Like, what I mean? We're brothers. So he kind of trained us, even after boxing practice, or we would spar or fight with each other. He would make us hug each other, man. Hug your brother, man. You know what I mean? After we crying, the nose all busted and bleeding, but he would make sure he would instill like, come back together after the war.
yeah. That's good.
Yeah.
So, what was it like when Nick got his first movie and now everybody, did you ever have a girls that were like trying to be nice to you to like get next to him or how did it work?
Damn, homie. See, in North Carolina, we couldn't talk to women that looked like you. See, we was black and ashy, man. So, you know what I mean? Like we was big in sports. You know what I mean? So, we had our name through there in the community in the neighborhood, but they didn't even make them like you out there. It was either black or white. Like, to have a Hispanic girl was exotic. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So, it's North Carolina, but when Nick, like, he started to get famous, we would bring, pictures, old baby pictures. This is my brother. Like, who you black ass? Like, it was people didn't believe it, and then we were so far from, him being on television. And his first start was kind of Nickelodeon. So, that was our age bracket, so all the kids is watching this. So you saying that's my brother on TV, you all the way back here in North Carolina, and you're little ashy. You know what I mean? Nobody believe that shit. And so it was a journey, but then drumline came and moving out here, it was like, man, when I moved to California, I had like 5 girls lined up. They didn't know how I looked, didn't care how I looked. It's like Nick Cannon brother coming. He's like, who me? Oh, I'm okay. Well, let's go. I want everybody. So, we went through our journey of excess. Like, you know what I mean? Just that world shift, that paradigm shift of reality. Like now we're in demand. Now you're somebody and yeah, really got a front row seat to Hollywood. Like I done did everything from run street teams for Nick to marketing teams, and I was signed to Def Jam for a time. Toured with Mariah, of course, because he married her, but was able
Yeah.
just to really have a front row seat. Of Hollywood one on one, like you couldn't pay for that in college. Just the learning curve, we was able to get for sure.
What was the craziest shit you seen during that time? Like that you were like, wow.
Woo! I mean, Mariah Carey, of course, her life. You know what I mean. Leftovers from the table of Mariah Carey is amazing.
That's like another level of fame. So it's
Oh
like
my goodness, that woman got her own like wine imported, one of one. Like she's the only one who could drink it, taste this certain type of taste. Like you're the only one in the world who tasted it. Like it's just mind blowing. Just the access and that she has. But like that even just changed life. Just when going on tour with her, just to watch her band rehearse. Mariah ain't really doing too much rehearsing, but just to watch her band and her backup singers rehearse and that learning curve of putting on a tour and just watching the professionalism was really something you couldn't pay for. It's priceless experience.
yeah. And what was it like becoming an uncle? And
It was amazing. But at that time, I was trying to say, "You want a baby? Cannon babies? Are we fertile, baby? We outside." So I was on a whole nother mindset in those Mariah days for sure. But it kind of helped me because I don't know if you dig far in Google, man. I was a wild one, but it helped me to reflect and become the man I'm pushing to be today and understanding the bridge. We got to build to even take everything I learned in Hollywood to be able to try to, use these tools in a place like a juvenile hall. Like you got these cats, in juvenile hall, these young dudes, probably got a juvenile life, committed murder, but I'm trying to get in there and teach them and get them to play improv games. Like, you know what I mean? And it's like, yo, trying to pull that, but then to see the change, to see that, like, yo, they are baby gangsters, you know what I mean? But they still kids. Like, there's still a young man in there. There's still a young there's still belief in there. There's still hope. And also, it's at a prime time of their life because they do also have another chance. Some of them might be until 25, but they do, have a whole nother chance at life for sure.
so how did you start working with at risk youth?
I was looking for stuff, man. I got lost, man. In Hollywood, man, you can get lost, man. I was wild. Like you see, my dad. I told you, my dad sat the foundation. He was a minister. But I just mixed stuff. I would pop a pill and pray over it, like Lord God, let this not do it. You know what I'm saying? And like
Yeah.
I was, and so I seen the top of that pyramid. I seen, what I'm saying, being in the likeness of the Mariah Careys and in those circles. I seen, you know, what a lot of people are exposing today. You know what I mean? With all these extracurricular activities, a
I
lot
was
of these
gonna
people.
say, like, what was the worst thing about Hollywood you seen that really made you say, wow, I need to get out of here?
Um, ah, I was in front of a party, an event, right? I ain't gonna say who, but you had to kind of prick and they wanted some blood for you to get into this party. Like, you know what I'm saying? And it was kind of like, are you serious? Like, we gotta give our, you know what I mean? And just kind of seeing those type of things, understanding what was on the platters. Like, that's what? And it's like, yeah, let me get up out of here.
So they asked you for blood. Did they ask you to, what is that called? They tell you to like disengage with Christ or something. Like I heard that at Illuminati parties they make you disown God. Like I don't believe in God. I believe in whatever you guys want me to believe. Is that like true?
I've definitely had some experience like that, but I think I wear it so God is good, baby. Like you can see me back in the day in '05. I'm probably drunk in the interview, but I'm still gonna be like, God is good. Like I'm gonna still wear that. Like I know who
Yeah.
he is, even if I'm all the way left, like I know who the king is, baby. And so I think it's just like, ah, shit, here it come. Like, you know what I mean? You know what you gonna get when it comes to me. Like, you know what I mean? Some people know that back in the day I would the line, like you know what I mean, and I'm not crossing that line. I ain't gonna denounce the King of Glory. We're gonna have to deal with that later. Like that's some eternal life shit. Like, you
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like we're not gonna go into those waters. So people can see, people test you for sure, and it don't even be the people they send people at you. You know what I mean? It could be assistants, it could be makeup artists. So people are in conversations. People test you, they see where you at, and it's like, yeah, yeah. Gabe ain't gonna, you probably don't want to invite him here. Like, you know what I'm saying? So, yeah, I've definitely found my way in some places. I wore a mask. I got a short film that I'm actually doing with the people in the juvenile hall. It's called Mask because everybody wear masks. You know what I mean? For you to pull a burner out, point it at somebody, and put a trigger on, like you got on a different mask than that person who be in front of their grandma. Like you know what I'm saying? So we all wear masks. Even us in this entertainment industry, we got to wear like certain masks. Kind of just take, kind of be I don't think I lost. But yeah, we gotta wear certain masks to maneuver in this industry. You know what I mean? To get this
Yeah.
paper to be, you know what I mean? So I'm doing a short film with them called Mask. And yeah, that's really a message we just trying to put out there. I don't know how I got on that. I just be rambling.
Wait, so let's go back to the at-risk youth. So basically, you went through Hollywood, you've seen a lot of shit, and you decided to settle down and start doing this. So when did you start doing that?
Man, it's been about 8 years now. I really left Hollywood, literally went to Bible college. Cause for me it was like, a lot of people be talking about Jesus and the Lord, and it's like, yeah, that's because your grandmama told you that. That's because of, you grew up like that. And for me, because my pops did give it to me, like, man, let me go study for myself. Let me go read and figure out what this eternal life thing really is for myself. So I went to Bible college, just really dipped off. Like, you know what I mean? I see the devil in Hollywood. He tap dancing all over that motherfucker. Like, all right, let me go see what God's talking about.
What
And
is
that was
Bible college? Because I've never heard of that. Is it just like to refine God or just get closer to God?
right. It's just really just college. Like you could go get a degree in theology. So
Oh wait, is that how
so
people become pastors, or you don't really need, or do
you
you?
don't
I'm
really
not really
need
sure how that
to.
works. But
Yeah,
hey,
people
but if
becoming
I could become a pastor, because I just seen a video of one where he was like, nobody leaves until we have 40,000. What? I'm gonna do that shit. Nobody. But that's kind of kidnapping. But whatever. If I gotta go to college for a little bit, I'll do that.
well, nah. Some of them pastors just get that degree off the internet. Like it ain't really,
Okay. What's the website again? No.
no, you no, but it's that dude there. Yeah, that was a little crazy. That was a little kidnappish. But
Yeah. It's like
yeah,
if I the more money I give, like if I know I'm not going to hell if I give all my money away. So that's no, I'm kidding. Okay, wait. So
we gonna
Bible
work on that
college.
concept.
Wait, so did you meet any like nice church girls in there, or were the girls in there a little like
No, everybody was there. See, for me, and that's what I tell dudes. Like, they be like, man, there ain't no good people, there ain't no good, or even like girls, there's no good dudes out there anymore. My thing, like, man, go to a dude who's trying to serve God, man. Like, he could be a
yeah,
former thug. He could have shot a few niggas. Like, you know what I'm saying? He could be in him. But the thing is, he realized, like, yo, there's a higher power that's more powerful than me that I must surrender to. So a man who surrenders to God, I feel like you won't have a problem with this man understanding how his woman should surrender to him. That's a whole nother conversation. But also, he's going to surrender and submit unto his woman. Like, you know what I mean? So, just to build that unity and that covenant. So, you know what I mean? If there ain't no good dudes, there's a bunch of reformed gangsters, like, you know what I mean, who put it on the line, but who gonna put all that energy, all that passion into, like, reaching back and helping other people. It's like, man, I used to destroy, I used to build destruction, I mean create destruction out here, like, and this person who with that same passion that they'll take a life want to influence or build a life, I found to be some of the richest people, internally, for sure.
yeah. Is it everybody who is like,
Yeah.
is it people that from their whole life have been into God, or people that are, you know what I
Nah,
mean? Like,
people at their crosswords. Like one of the dopest images I've ever seen in life. is a dude from the streets, right? In church, like crying, pouring out his soul, like knowing, like you just looking at this dude and you don't know what, like you can look at him and tell, like what, like dude put in work, but he's at this altar, he's in front, like he's pouring out his soul, maybe for them bodies, for them people, for those things he destroyed, like you know what I mean, for those victims, but he's asking for forgiveness. He's giving all of that up. He's searching. Like, you know what I mean? That's one of the powerfulest things I've ever seen. Like, you know what I mean? Somebody that strong, that, capable of power, but, surrendering that unto a higher power. Like, it's dope, man. Like, you know what I mean? To see somebody real enough to take your life, but real enough to give his life away. Like,
Yeah.
man, it's crazy.
So the program, does it teach kids that are in the streets like to start acting, or what do you guys do?
Well, what I do is mainly because I think when we're teaching these kids how to create, characters. If I teach you how to do, like, let's say if I give you a movie script right now, and I'm teaching you, this young lady, she's a waitress, but she wants to be a singer. She used to get abused by her father. Like, you would have to gather all of this intel to know how she moves, why she delivers this line this way, why she's so passionate. What, you know what I mean? And so to understand how a character thinks and moves when you're teaching this to young people, I believe subliminally they're also understanding how they think and how they move and why they do the things they do and where their pain is coming from and where their maybe impulsive decisions are coming for. So I'm just really mixing up the medicine with some candy, and so we're playing these improv games, and you're releasing yourself. I'm getting you to remove the toughness, remove the shell. Let's remove the game for a second, and let's visit this character's world. So you're able to empty yourself and almost enter a whole nother world by just, still using your imagination, character development. But then they're able to, look at things from a whole nother set of shoes, a whole nother perspective. And then once you have that other, view of eyes to almost look at your own situation, I believe that in lies freedom. You feel me? Like they're able to disassociate and then make a decision.
What would be your dream role in a movie?
Woo! I think my dream role is like one of these characters I'm describing. This dude whose life, these his eyes, it wasn't given to him. You know what I mean? Like, people look at you or look at me because I'm related to somebody famous, or because how you look, they think things are given to us. Like, you know what I mean? And not have to understand the grind and the hours we really gotta put into this shit. Like, so really somebody who it wasn't given to him, and to see the dynamics of a mind switch, to play two totally different mindsets in one character. A guy who maybe was a killer and now he's, trying to save lives. You know what I mean? Those two different faces, like that's a whole nother, you know what I mean? Face the guy who gonna pull the trigger and the guy who gonna lend a hand. You know what I mean? But in the same story, in the same, you know, journey, so those type of dynamics in a character I would love to explore for sure.
What was something you were watching growing up? Like, were you watching mostly like Nickelodeon? Was it more?
Nickelodeon. We was boys in the hood,
I'm
baby.
saying I watched Nickelodeon growing up. Like, you didn't watch
no, yeah,
Arthur?
no, yeah, for sure. No, all of that. Like, we was young
I
computers
meant
because
like when it came to acting, like what did you always look back on and say, "Damn, I wish I could have did that." Like when I was seeing Nickelodeon, like Nick and Amanda, like Amanda Seyfried,
right.
is that her? And
Amanda
she had the
Bynes,
Amanda
yeah,
show. And now I'm
right,
looking
right.
at. I still want to meet her. I love her anyway. Like
You should
she
reach
that's still
out to her.
Amanda.
She going through it. You should reach
It's
out
still
to her.
Amanda. I love Amanda, but I'm saying like I always look back on that and said like, oh, that would have been fun as a kid, but I don't. That's so much work because when I went to acting school, you don't realize how hard acting is. People start doing
Right,
it, I feel like, because they think it's gonna be easy. It is probably the hardest job there is because to put yourself in
right,
that mindset, oof.
right. Right. It was that. I'm not gonna lie. I definitely wanted to be. I mean, young Nick was on it young, one of the youngest staff writers in history. He was on Nickelodeon at 17, so I was like 8. You know what I mean? So of course the Nickelodeons. But as I got older, it was really, my one of my favorite actors was Lorenz Tate. The
Yeah.
Dead Presidents. Like, just the way he would feel like he embodied those roles. You know what I mean? So definitely dramatic actors. But then the Chris Tuckers came along, of course. I was dark skinned, and our culture they made you feel like you was ugly when you was dark skinned, boy. So like the people who came along, the Jason Weavers, and when the Lorenz Tates and the people came out to make the chocolate look good, Wesley Snipes. I was like, yes, I was rooting for them brothers for sure.
I
But
always
yeah,
felt the opposite. I felt like the darker you are, the more beautiful you are. Like even Fast and Furious, it's like you have Paul Walker. He's like a very good looking white man. But then to have Tyrese next to him, it's not no competition. Like you can't even compare.
so you see in the different cultures that give you that's when I came to California, give you different appreciations for yourself. But in my culture, I was black ass, baby, black ass. Tell black ass to come here.
Yeah, maybe
But
because
yeah,
I come from Russia. So to us, it's like if you meet a black man, it's like, ooh, you're American, wow,
oh,
that's fire.
really.
Like anything different, I think just growing up in New York, like there was so many different types of nationalities that I actually loved it. I didn't really like sticking to just being friends with Russian people. Do you feel like growing up most of your friends were black? Were they white? Was it a mix?
Hey, black. I've definitely lived in the next to the hood, right by the hood, but black and white. But because we played sports, big old country fed white boys, for sure. I remember one a story when we was all in the getting something to eat after a baseball game, and one of the homies, his mom, that she was known to just go off out of nowhere, and she just started snapping. And we would always think like, yo, his mom is a little crazy. Like, why she always tripping? But not even knowing we were so young that everybody in the restaurant was looking at her like, yo, what you doing with these little black boys with you? Like, you know what I mean? And but just, being a man and just looking back on those stories growing up in North Carolina, in hindsight, realizing like, oh, that's why she was tripping. Hey, she in here feeding these young Negroes. You know what I'm saying? And
Was
you know,
it was it racist, you think, or was it like
oh, it was racist for sure. It was North Carolina, baby. Racist for sure. But we would do stuff to antagonize it. We gonna go and shoot, throw eggs, shoot paintballs at the cars, throw eggs at like we was, in the country, a real country
like
summer.
fuck
Like
you,
I
you
wrote
don't like us anyway.
right,
Fuck you
like
then.
but just crazy stuff out there. A country Carolina summer. I got a script written about that, but I don't know if you ever experienced lightning bugs, the little bugs that just light up at night and you look
Yeah, I've
like
seen them
nah.
before
Oh,
when I was
yeah,
upstate.
yeah, like just different things like that that just makes the childhood memorable. Just sweet Carolina, baby.
Yeah, I have friends from North Carolina that you. Well, so do you live there now, or where do you live now in LA, right?
No, yeah, I'm out in California. I'm out in California.
So how's living in California now?
I love it. You got to get it.
Okay, I think we lost him. All right, so we're gonna be back at 8 p.m. New York time, 5 p.m. LA time. We might come back a little sooner. I'm gonna hit up my next guest. So thank you guys so much for watching. My name is Maya. I go by Damn Homie, and this has been Official Prison Talk. Big shout out to Joseph P. Langton, Freedom for Jay Burton, and yeah, we'll be back in a couple of hours. Thanks for watching.